Did I just watch an episode of Power Rangers? Hi everyone and welcome to Ranger Rants. As always, I'm Archer9234. Today's rant is on the first part of Journey's End. Journey's End is a part of my top 10 episodes of Power Rangers, one of the best finales of the series has ever had. I've even marked it higher than Countdown to Destruction in a lot of places. They even got to do things that are rarely allowed in kids shows. I'm really surprised some of these things got through. Journey's End Part 1 begins the final phase of the season. Terra Venture has successfully survived the Lost Galaxy, Magna Defender's powers are now lost, and the colony is in a bad shape. Journey's End Part 1 isn't adapted from any Super Sentai episode, it's 100% original story and effects. Deviat's final plan has backfired enough times where Trakina finally orders his death. It's a really nice scene and gives us a reminder that Trakina isn't that stuck-up weak princess that she was at the beginning of the season, and I'm surprised standards and practices didn't screw up this moment. I never really liked Deviat. He had his own agendas and didn't really cover it up that well, where I was surprised that he wasn't killed off earlier in the season. He's just really a huge chicken. Never did anything himself, he just brainwashes everyone and everything around him. There's one thing I would have liked the show to have explained better. Who was Trakina's mother? Was she a trophy wife given to her father? She had to be human, maybe she was a slave. It would have been nice to know something more about Trakina's family background, but it's just left to your own imagination to fill in those weird blanks. Deviat, running away like a coward as usual, stumbles into the cocoon room and attempts to get into it again. This room really should have been guarded more. If anyone could simply jump into it and get changed into a superbug, I would have had 20 guards on it. Since Deviat wouldn't stand a chance against Villimax, he bum-rushed Trakina, used her as a human shield, and both got thrown into the cocoon. This was a really good way of forcing Trakina into changing, because it would have made all her complaining and refusal to go inside it all a waste. She knew what it would do to her. We even got some foreshadowing in Silent Sleep. The battle armor she wore is her transformed state. I guess since two people were inside, it corrupted the cocoon's powers and simply fused Trakina with Deviat. This basically gave Deviat control over her body, which I kind of thought was a bit lame. It basically repeated what happened at the end of In Space with Corone. This seems to happen a lot with the villainesses of the shows. Corone got converted into Borg Astronema, Tenaya and RPM pulled the same thing, and Deviat made Trakina insane. The brainwashed women, I call them. Now, thanks to all the attacks over the past year, Terra Venture is only operating with one remaining engine, and they're basically forced to find the nearest habitable planet to colonize. This I liked. It made the show feel real. Think of how many times Trakina and Captain Mutiny attacked the station, all the Zord fights inside of it, etc. They were bound to run out of materials to repair the station. Luckily, they found an Earth-like planet in range to set down, which is ironically Miranoi. Some people got confused by this though. Did they just fly in a big circle? Did the Lost Galaxy waste their trip at the beginning? No, remember we don't know how far Miranoi was from Earth. Maya went through the wormhole, so the station's journey didn't just loop around. This also showed Furious's stone spell didn't spread across the entire planet and just simply froze Maya's village area. So technically, the team could have just outrun it in the pilot. For some odd reason though, Miranoi's design was different on the monitors. The planet had swirly clouds, but all the other times we see it, including Forever Red, they were straight. Commander Stanton tells all the people the good news. We get to see some really great special effects work done, and how the dome makes the artificial skyline. This gets echoed again with the city of Corinth, RPM. The show was really lucky Maya's people had no space travel, or she would have told everyone that's her planet, and would have spoiled the reveal later on. The Rangers stayed up the whole night, reflecting on what they did for the past year. We even get a nice small scene with Mike and the commander. I really liked the entire cast of LG. They acted really good and used for a good portion of the season, especially Stanton. He wasn't the Rangers' usual mentor, but filled in that role nicely. I found it funny that Kai went nuts that he was going to be late for work, but Damon stayed with everyone else. Wouldn't all the engineers be needed for landing the station too? Of course, the colony can't have that perfect landing they deserve, and Trakiniot attacks the station head on, attacking key dome areas and blowing up the last working engine. I still wonder why there's no exterior defenses for the station, like a shield or weapons of some kind. The Rangers really have no way in dealing with the Scorpion Stinger. The Astro Megaship is outdated, and the LG Zords aren't really designed to fight in space, so Leo and Damon steal some explosives. Soldiers were moving away from the damaged areas. If you listen closely, you can hear Deviat's unfiltered voice voicing the head soldier. Now, when Leo makes the Stinger go after Damon to plant the bomb on it, the ship shrinks in size. You can see Damon is way too big for the ship. This happens a lot in space shows, so it's not a PR thing. The worst time this happened was with the Wild Force Rider bike being the size of Serpentera's head. And we know Serpentera is several times the size of the Thunder Megazord. This would make Cole the size of an apartment building. I'm also surprised no one called racist on this scene. Damon was the bait. PR has been called racist over smaller things. Remember the whole Zack is the Black Ranger and Trini is the Yellow Ranger nonsense? This is why Adam became black and Aisha was yellow. Even though their plan worked and they threw the Stinger away from the colony, the station was too badly damaged, out of control, and headed for the moon, which went from brown to gray color. The whole crash scene is probably one of Power Rangers' top effect shots ever done. I loved every moment of it, from the beautiful moon shots, all the exploding debris from the station, and the main dome splitting off from the body. People definitely died during this crash, and they didn't shy away from all the destruction that went on inside. Another thing I noticed was that the effects crew loved Star Trek. A lot of shots were direct copies of the Enterprise D crash scene in the Generations movie, like the table flipping down, the consoles exploding, and the dome crashing shots on the moon's surface. After the crash was over, the dome was in horrible shape. I'm surprised they had power running period after the split from the main engine. This is probably the largest use of background people PR has done too, more so than Countdown to Destruction. People were badly injured, the control room was in shambles, and the dome itself was falling apart, which forced Commander Stanton to begin evacuating everyone. My personal favorite scene of Stanton comes here, when he said, "This ship is dying, I don't want us to die with it." I did wonder if anyone from the other domes and engine core area were rescued or survived. They really only focused on the main dome. I guess it was a good thing Damon didn't report for work after all. We come back to Trikiniot and they reuse a stock shot of the Scorpion Stinger, causing a continuity mistake where both pincers were intact. And we see Trikiniot acting all weird around everyone, eating bugs, which she definitely wouldn't do. Kegler even brings it up, and she burps in his face. I really don't get why no one put two and two together by now, especially when we see that Trikiniot stuck bombs on the Stingwingers. Villamax is an honorable soldier and won't waste lives of an army. I really don't get how this got through at all. The show is basically showing suicide bombing. This isn't even shown in adult shows a lot. Even though they're the villains and they do get blown up all the time, this should have been not allowed. Post 9/11, this would never ever be shown. Trikiniot becomes so insane, she gives this big speech to her army and flat out becomes Hitler and begins sending in waves to kill off the remaining survivors of TerraVenture. After such an insane intense to be continued, I have to give part 1 a perfect score. The episode wrapped up a lot of things. Deviat got what he wanted, took the powers of the cocoon, and even got a bonus, taking over Trakina's body and being in command of Scorpius' army. A final laugh to all the people that abused him. Though it kind of robs Trakina herself. Would she have owned TerraVenture if Deviat didn't take over her body? We'll never know. Then we have the ending of the journey to the new world that began the season. We get some really great moments of acting from all the cast, and they don't forget about Mike, which could have easily happened since he's no longer the Magnet Defender. And of course, the episode is filled with such amazing effects work, ranging from the CGI Scorpion Stinger to the great crash sequence onto the moon, and showing what the civilians go through during these type of disasters, which gets overlooked a lot in PR and even Sentai. I really wish Power Rangers did this stuff more often. Plus, LG's finale is completely different to Gingaman's finale. The reason why we didn't use it was because the footage was used to end the Captain Mutiny arc, so the series had no choice but to make their own ending. Now here are some of your own comments. Please leave a suggestion below on what future episode you would like reviewed, and leave a review comment for the next rant. I'll pick some of the best ones and feature them next time. For the next rant, I'll be continuing with part 2, the fight for survival of the colony, loss of the megaship, cutting the final connection to the Zordon era, and the extensive use of US Zord footage not seen since season 2. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys right back here next time. I never really liked Deviant. He had his own agendas. Deviant, running away like a coward, stumbles into the cocoon room. The racers? Though it kind of robs Trakina herself, would she have owned Terra Ventura? Though it kind of robs Trakina herself, would she have owned Terra Ventura if